Parent Tech training, what we're kind of doing is talking about targeting the success of our students through the use of this technology. And technology, as you guys know, is all over the place. And what we have to kind of do is just figure out how we can make it work for us and not against us. So there's a lot of challenges that we face in doing this. We have parent challenges, we have student challenges, teacher challenges. And, some of these challenges as parents, as I kind of was sharing with April, some of the tools that we would need to help our students are sometimes a little bit out of our reach. Okay, so we have Parent Portal that we can log into directly, but the actual Google Classroom that the kids use, we don't have a direct connection to that. And so I would love it if I had a login with read-only access or something like that, but that's not there. So that kind of works against us a little bit. We have to kind of hijack our kids' accounts to be able to truly help them with everything. And it has been more difficult ever since the disappearance even of textbooks, because again, going back to the backpack emptying example, if you were to, back in the day, need to help your kids with homework, you could just grab their textbook and read through what they were supposed to have done. And you would basically know, just from reading, what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it. But now without that there, it's very hard to be able to help our students in a lot of ways. Also is the fact that we don't really know the teachers as well. We didn't get to, I know for my elementary students, I love to go meet the teachers, let them know that I'm an engaged parent, let them know that, this is something that school is very important to me. But I can't do that now. And so to me, that's a little bit of a challenge as a parent, not being able to communicate with the teachers at the beginning of the school year. And of course, once they get to middle school, we pretty much, the teacher meetings, stuff like that, parent-teacher meetings kind of disappear anyhow, unless you specifically request it. They're not going to come to you for that. Of course, student challenges, they're isolated more than they ever been before. I have kids that wanted to go to school before that suddenly don't want to go to school. My youngest used to love school, and she's gotten a little better about it now, but it was a big struggle for her, just that whole thing of not being able to, really be with her buddies and really be able to do what they used to be able to do. A lot of depression, as anybody can tell you that's been out there, both teachers and parents and psychologists, that's gone up with this whole COVID thing. So that's a lot of challenge they have. And another big challenge actually is boredom. So there's a lot of kids who are just bored, they have just, some of the things coming at them they can take care of really quickly. And so because of that, they get through with it and then they're just kind of sitting around bored. And that is a challenge, definitely. Of course, teacher challenges. Having that divided classroom that we were talking about at the beginning, just April and I, that it's really tough for teachers to hold the attention of students online and students in the classroom. My wife, I can share with you, she has told me that there are some students that she literally wouldn't know if they come to school in person if they pass her by in the classroom, because this whole time they have been in the dark, so to speak. They might have a little bit of a shadow that she can see in the camera, but she literally does not know what some of the students look like. And I know for me, I actually, I had the first conference in my life where I didn't really know. I could tell the teacher didn't know who my daughter was. And that was just totally unusual. It's weird is what it was, that I was like, she doesn't know my daughter. She's there in person, but she doesn't know her. So a lot of challenges on all ends. And so we just want to talk about how we as parents can kind of get beyond some of these challenges and do what we need to do. So a big thing I want to just kind of emphasize here at the start is the principle of tools versus weapons. So the technology that we're going to be getting into and talking about, and some that you guys already use, should be used as a tool and not a weapon. So what's the difference between a tool and a weapon? Well, a tool is something that, of course, you can use to help a situation. A weapon, you're just kind of, attacking that situation. And so we don't want to come to our kids and attack them with numbers. And we're going to be talking about some numbers and all that kind of stuff a little bit tonight. But so we don't want to attack them with those numbers. We want to have it be an open door situation to where we approach them, maybe with a question, but start a conversation. We don't want to just come and beat them over the head with information that we see. And that's very important because kids can close down very quickly when they feel like they're being attacked. And that's true with adults, of course, too. So that's not what we want to do. So in the first session, I talked a lot about, the parent portal, talked about, of course, the Google Classroom as well. What I want to emphasize now is just the fact that there's certain tools that are built for us as parents, and there's some that are not built for us. So Parent Portal, that's built for parents, as it suggests. It's out here circled. There's a parent username and a password. So that's your own information that you get to make up to log into the system. So that's very important, knowing that this was built for parents. And just when you look at it, there's a lot of stuff that you can get out of the portal that is great information. A couple I just touched on that I'll just kind of breeze by. There's an assignments tab, there's a grades tab, gradebook updates, but even attendance. So these are some useful things in there that can just kind of help you to be able to help your student and just kind of have a way to look. Something I do want to mention, the Parent Portal, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, but the Parent Portal is very good about what the actual grades are that your students are making and what their attendance is and stuff like that. One of the things that is a disadvantage of the Parent Portal is it is not the complete picture of everything. So you don't see everything that's going on. You do see things that get graded as they get put into the system, but you don't really see everything. And so you can see, this is just a quick glance at attendance. You can take a glance there and see what's happening with attendance. You can look at the grades and see what the grades have been for your students. And with these presentations, I don't have a fake student that I can use. So I have to kind of like get into my own kids stuff and give them a pseudonym up here. So I have Johnny Smith, that's one of my kids, not for real, but anyhow. You can see their grades, you can see what's going on. You can also, get into other areas as well. You can see their assignments. But one thing about this that you can kind of see is looking at this, it showed like for this day, there was no assignments, okay? That's not the reality. There were assignments for that day that were out there. But that's not the strength of the Parent Portal here. It's not going to show you what's happening that day. It's going to show you what has already happened, what the grades were and everything else. So it is not an up-to-date and real-time system. That's just something that you need to know when you're looking at the Parent Portal. So if your kid comes to you and says, oh, I don't have any homework at all, and then you check the Parent Portal and you're like, well, shows no assignments for the day. I guess they don't have homework. Well, probably not true. So you just need to know that. So the real live system that we're going to talk about some today is the actual Google Classroom. So on this same day where it shows no assignments, you can get into Google Classroom and you can see that, okay, there was assignments that were given here. And there was things that were being worked on. And so that's just a good thing to know, that this is, a very up-to-date system that shows exactly what's happening as it happens. And so that's why it's important that we learn how to get into that system. The only thing about this is, although it's up to date, it's not made for parents. Google Classroom is made for students, it's made for teachers, but it's not made for parents. I don't have a sign-in to get into the system. I don't have, except for like right now, there's no kind of training that we get as parents as a part of the natural flow of what happens in there. So this wasn't designed for us to get into it. But if you want to help your kids the most, you got to get into it, which means you got to hijack their information and everything else. But it is what it is. So again, Parent Portal, that's the one that's made for us. As I already said, it's just not a totally comprehensive system for everything that's going on like at the moment. So that's why we'll need to dig in a little deeper to get there. So what I'd say about the Parent Portal is it's definitely a great starting place, a great way to get into what you need to get help in your kids. Another thing, I talked about this more in session 1, and it's built for parents, is the Renaissance Home Connect app. So this is something that you can get into, and as you can see, it's made for parents or guardians. It is something that allows you to log in and to see where your kids are with reading. So if you have younger kids, this is something that's very important to kind of know, because they're tested on their reading and everything. And in order to help them succeed, I think all of us know pretty well the importance of reading. So if you haven't got one of these sheets sent home, I actually just got another one probably last week, I think, for my 5th grader. I'd gotten the one for my 3rd grader at the beginning of this year, not the academic year, but the beginning of 2021, letting me know that I could log in. But if this is something you have not seen, you can also get into it from Google Classroom. That's what the students do. They check their things. I know my daughter, she got into hers just yesterday, checking some stuff. So I'll show you in a little bit how to get into that if that's something that you don't have access to right now. But this should have been something that was sent home that showed you how you could get into there. It gives you a login. You can see their goals, where they're at, and what % of the goal that they're at and everything else. what books that they're reading, and it even drills down to, quizzes that they've taken, how they did in the quizzes. You can view their TOPS report, see their answers that they did and everything else. So this is a great thing that is made for parents. So I emphasize that again, this is made for parents. It's a great tool. So your school should be able to give you a sign-in so you don't have to, for this piece of it, go into your kid's account. But
Donald, is that where they take their AR test? Is that Renaissance?
yes, so they take their AR test through MyOn.
Oh my.
So they get in there, do their reading and everything, then it hooks up to their AR test, yes. And that's how they can basically see how many points that they have. If they pass the test, they get a certain amount of points. So it's all hooked into that AR testing situation.
Does Renaissance and MyOn, do they communicate? Or are they
Yes.
totally separate?
Well, MyOn communicates with the whole AR system. So I don't know if it's a direct connection from MyOn to Renaissance, but they're basically definitely hooked up together through a chain, from MyOn to the AR to Renaissance. They all kind of flow together. Okay. And allows you to kind of see that. That's a good question. And I know on another, actually on Tuesday, somebody asked, because they have a different reading program that's not MyOn. I think theirs was Reading 123 or something like that. And they were asking if that
Read
program
180. I bet it's Read 180.
Okay.
It could have been Read 180. That's a program that we use for students in special ed who are struggling readers.
Okay.
I know that's what we use here at the middle school level. I don't know if it's just something for special ed. I want to say that it is.
Okay. Does that score them as well? Do you know?
I'm not real sure.
Okay.
It does like progressively try to, bring levels up, but I don't know that that's something, I've never heard of it being accessed by parents.
Gotcha. So that may be a different system. I know the one this other parent was talking about, I think they do scores and everything through that. But she wasn't sure whether or not it connected to this Renaissance. But I think another person on the call said that anything that they can take AR tests with should be connected to Renaissance, is what she was saying. Trying to get confirmation of that from the county. I put that question out there a couple of days ago, but haven't gotten an answer yet.
Yeah, if it's Read 180, I don't think that's for AR tests. I think that's completely independent.
Got you. Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully I'll get some solid answers on that here soon. Another tool that's made for parents actually is called Google Classroom, and it is hooked up to Google Classroom. It's a weekly summary that you can get as a parent that tells you what your students have done for the past week. You can also, with this system, it can be turned on to a daily notification. So you can see at the end of every day what they've done. The thing about this, it does show you kind of like at a glance what all their classes were, what they did, and everything else, and even shows you if there's missing work, from the week. The only thing about this is that although I know it's made for parents, and that's a big check mark, that's why I have that big red check mark there, it unfortunately isn't a live system as well. So it's just kind of after the fact. Okay, here's what happened this past week. And there's nothing in it when you try to go and you maybe want to click into a class and see something more about it. There's not clickable links in there. So it's not live. You can't click in to see anything. It's just like, here's what happened. And that's it. The only thing in this that you can change literally is, do you want to see this weekly or do you want to see it daily? So although it is information, for me as a parent, I like to be proactive and not reactive. Okay. So I want to be able to say, hey, right now you just came home from school. What's going on? What homework do you have? What do we need to be working on right now? And unfortunately with this, that's not the way it's designed. I can't click into things and see what's happening. It just kind of says, here's what happened in the past. So it's a good, it's a good something that they throw out there. Just, they can say that they did something. But again, I'm just talking real as a parent, what the real tools are that can help me. So the best thing that can help me is literally being able to get into the student portal. And that unfortunately is something that wasn't designed for us parents to do. There's a big do not enter there. Okay, so this is students, this is teachers, but for parents, they're not making it easy for us to get into this. We don't have a sign on or anything else. But again, this is what you have to get into if you want to truly help your student to success as best as you can. And so what you have to do is literally get your student's username, get your student's password, and then you can get into the system. That's the only way you can get into it, is with your student's information. So younger students, that's usually not too big of a deal. to get their information. As they progressively get older, things change. So, I mean, I can literally say my third grader was like, hey, can I get your information? She's like, sure, here's my username, here's my password, check mark. I got it memorized. Isn't that awesome? You know, fifth grader, all right, here's my username, here's my password. Why do you want this? Hit the seventh grader. Before she even says anything, she's like, what? Why do you need this? Why are you asking for my username and password? You know, hit the ninth grader. Whoa, it's just kind of like, okay. He's looking at me like I just, you know, I'm in the KGB or something trying to break into his system, you know. And it's like, no, are you trying to start spying on me? What's going on here, you know? And so that's the thing about this, you know. We're kind of trained even as adults that, hey, username, password, that's your information. You don't share it with anybody. Now, of course, I know the parent-child relationship is different, but still, that's just kind of ingrained that, hey, this isn't stuff you share. But that's what you got to get. So good luck with that, however it works out. Good luck. So in order to get to that, on their Chromebooks, if they have a Chromebook, they literally just open it up and it has that screen there. So they just can immediately go into that portal and that's where they sign in. But if you don't have a Chromebook and you're a parent just trying to get in from your own computer, and that's what happens with me, I'm not grabbing their Chromebooks. I'm trying to get into it myself where I'm at. You have to kind of go in through the county website. So go to the county website, get under resources, and then you see an area here for students. And this is also where you get into the parent portal in the same spot. So if you click parents here, it would take you towards the parent portal. But for the student thing, you can click students here, and then that will bring you down here to this single sign-on area, this Douglas County portal single sign-on. So under the student resources, this is what will open up that window to get you logged into the system. So once you log in, you're going to be brought to this kind of a home page that shows all the different apps and everything that they have. Amazingly, this is actually for my youngest daughter. This screen changed from this week to last week, you know, because they can get in here and personalize things and just kind of do whatever they want to. So they can change the colors, they can change their little sign-in thing, they can do all these things, and they do it. A lot of them do it because that's just something fun for them. So Google Classroom is what we need to get to. I can kind of see it sitting here hidden in the school stuff folder. That's the other thing, they can make folders. And so if you don't see Google Classroom at a glance, it might be hidden in a folder somewhere, you know, and in her case, it's in this school stuff folder right here is where she kind of hid the thing. So that's just kind of what you need to know. This is what literally last week, this is what her thing looked like. A pink background, everything else was totally different. And Google Classrooms was visible here. And so when I went in the next time, it's like, oh, what happened to Google Classrooms? Because she had moved it around. So different students have different things. My middle schooler, my fifth grader, you know, she has a Google stuff folder. That's where her classroom, I can see it hiding there. And she has a class stuff folder. I think they like using this word stuff. I don't know if I use that a lot or what the deal is, but that's what they use. So you might have to search around for it. Now, you don't really have to literally search because there's this search bar up here. And you can type into that. Let me go back there for a second. You can type into it, and I'll show it in a later slide. You can type in classroom, and as you type it in, it's going to start showing you exactly where it's at. It's going to kind of bring up that icon, so you won't have to worry about it. So again, talking about success and what really leads to success. So I already mentioned with younger kids that reading is something that is very important for them. And so I wanted to show real quick how we get into that Renaissance area for those that didn't get that invitation into it. If you get into Google Classroom, there should be a tab there for Renaissance. You can get into it that way. And so again, going back to this screen here, one of my daughters, I can see here where there is this AR section. And here, just because I know what it looks like, I see this little Renaissance symbol here. Again, if I didn't know how to find it here, I could, as I already mentioned, start typing. So if you start typing out Renaissance, it'll pop, it'll show you that folder, and you can also just click directly here on this actual app that comes up, and it'll get you into the thing, or you can, like I said, do it through the folder. So with Renaissance, once you get into it from your kids thing, it'll just log you straight into here. So you can go straight in, you can see exactly what they've been doing, what the last thing was that they completed. And in her case, you know, she had done this reading practice, Delaney versus the Bully. If I click in on that, it'll show me what the book is, how they did well, you know, what they did on the test. Down here at the bottom, you can see their progress if you want to, and see all the books that they've read. And it also shows, like I kind of showed it at the beginning really quickly, it shows this little flower here that shows where they are with their progress. So if they haven't made it to where they need to be, this flower won't have the color all the way in. So as they reach their goal, it kind of colors its way all the way up and allows you to see kind of where they're at. Has a thing here where it shows you where they should be at the end of the school year. and where they're at today. So as you can see, this is totally colored in. At the bottom here, it shows 293.5% of the goal. So she's already exceeded her goal. So she's good to go, but that doesn't mean she should stop reading, because you know what? Guess what? When they get home every day, before they start doing other junk, I'm like, hey, half an hour reading, go for it, you know, before you hop on those games. Anyhow, you can click into this a little bit more. You can see the goals, but you can also see their completed work, as I mentioned, and I showed in that previous slide. That shows all their books that they've been working on. And from here, you can also, like I said, if you go back and look at the goals, it will show you that goal screen. You can get to that from here. But as well, here you notice that, you know, the goal already went up to 360.5. So in the last week since I did that last slide, this kid like cranked up some more books. And so the goal already changed, you know, and I went in and looked and I was like, okay, she already read a bunch more books since that last, you know, bully thing. She already had 5 more books. And so I can click into those if I want to and see, you know, this one of them had a lot of questions. There are 20 questions, you know, got 20 out of 20 right. Now her sister said, yeah, you probably cheated. I don't know this. Yeah, I don't know. Sisters are always envious, you know. So I don't know what really went on there. But anyhow, hopefully she just took the test and passed, because this is a book that she loves. So I've noticed books that the kids love, they will actually retain information from them, and they will usually do well on the test. But just wanted to get into this as I mentioned, there's this TOPS report, and somebody asked about that on the last call. And this basically shows them, I'm not going to go into details here because I need to spend a little more time in the Google Classroom. But this basically shows their goals. It shows their Lexile and everything else. And I know those words, Lexile and everything, some of us as parents are kind of like, okay, what does that really mean? And that's a big thing. You know, truth be told, we probably need to do a session on school jargon. You know, that probably needs to be a parent training session, because that can easily take up, you know, 5 or 6 sessions, because that's all you hear so much is just jargon. Like, what does that really mean? What, you know, they're in the green. What is green? Anyhow, I'm not going to go off on that. So anyhow, you can look under that TOPS report and see some information on where they're at. I can see that she's beyond the goals and everything else, but this is just, you know, it shows a period goal. And like, you know, here you can see what the things were there, but it also shows, you know, after all these things, also shows the annual goal for the whole school year and how they've done on that, nonfiction, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a good thing to go. Now, when you get to middle school, I have a blank screen here. So middle school, I'll just say it like this. They don't really care about reading. Okay, so that's really emphasized in element. I'm not saying they don't care about the kids reading, but really it's not something that they are emphasizing. They're getting on to, you know, other things. Good reading and what happens with that should have been established in elementary school. And so in middle school, you're not going to be seeing these things. You're not going to be seeing the flowers getting filled up and all those kind of things typically. There may be a few teachers that do that, but typically in middle school, you know, she's still doing some reading, this daughter whose page this is, but you know, there's no goals that were set for that reading. So for her, it's just kind of a pleasure reading kind of thing. Or maybe a teacher says, hey, find something to read, you got extra. I don't know exactly what happens. So she does some reading. I know even just, I think 2 days ago, she said, hey, I like this particular book that's on my own, so I just want to read some. So that's that. As I already mentioned, no more goals after elementary, but you can still see that they're Land of Stories. That's a big thing she loves to read, this Land, and you know, that my kids have fallen in love with that. But even with that, you can see that take the test, what they do, everything else. So let's go on to the portal and getting into Google Classroom. Well, let me say this real quick. So there's this little watering can down here. I'm just putting this out there. Beware of the watering can, okay? Once you click that thing, and I didn't even do it on purpose. I just was kind of like moving my mouse around, and kind of all of a sudden this thing started hovering. So I kind of tried to click it back into place, and all of a sudden it starts throwing out water on these invisible plants. And next thing you know, I had these plants growing at the bottom of my screen. Now, maybe a cool, cute thing for kids. My wife was just saying this yesterday. She's like, I hate that watering can, you know, because it's like you get down, if you could get down towards the bottom of this area and you're trying to click on stuff, you can see these flowers are like blocking your stuff. It's like, okay, I can't even click on the icons. I got these tulips in the way. So that's just a word to the wise. Beware of the watering can. It'll get you. So anyhow, getting to Google Classroom, as I mentioned here, it's kind of hidden in the school stuff folder. And if you can't get to it, just, you know, if you can't see it, start typing out Classroom. It'll bring up this that you can click on, or like I said, it'll show the folder that it's in, so you can click directly on that folder. So getting into Google Classrooms, what you basically see when you get into Google Classrooms is kind of the equivalent of what I would call kind of the old homework folder. Okay, so back in the day, your kids might have brought home a homework folder where they said, you know, you could look in that and see what the assignments they had for the day and what was coming up or whatever. So when you get into this opening screen in Google Classroom, that's kind of what you see here. So it's going to show you what is due immediately. It's going to show you what's coming up. This was something I got from a couple of days ago, so it's saying due Wednesday, but that was actually upcoming at that point. So it'll show you what's current, what's coming up, and what, if there's nothing in one of these little blocks here, that means that there's nothing in the immediate future. That means probably that week that is there. But that's kind of where you can look at that thing. So if I was to click on this ReadWorks thing here and kind of look into that a little bit, this thing that's due today, I could see that this has been assigned. When I look up here, it shows that it's been assigned. So that's something that my student is able to start working on. In this particular case, with this assignment, when I kind of clicked into it a little bit more, and like I said, I saw that it was assigned and everything, I clicked in to see exactly what it was, because it was already, at this point when I was checking, it was later in the day. So again, we're talking about setting up your students for success. And that means you're dealing with, oftentimes, breaking their habits of procrastination, okay? That's something that's built into kids, and it's built into a lot of us parents too, unfortunately. It's human nature, procrastination. So it was later in the evening, and I saw this thing floating out there showing due today, and that it had already been assigned. So I was a little concerned, and so I said, let me click into this and see. It's talking about ADHD, and I could see there was a passage, and there also were questions that were associated with this. And looking at the questions, I didn't see that any of them had been filled in or anything. So I was like, what's up with this? So I asked my daughter about it, and she was like, oh yeah, that's good, that's whatever, And so I'm like, okay, you're saying it's good. I ain't seeing stuff answered, and I'm not seeing anything that shows that it's turned in either, I'm seeing this whole empty section here. Nothing's been answered. And so what was interesting was, about an hour later, when I was about to get ready to go bust her, all of a sudden I looked and I saw this little area here that shows turned in. And I was like, look at that. Very, very interesting. And when I kind of clicked into the assignment, all of a sudden now it shows this results tab with grades and things being checked off and everything else. So I know what happened in the last hour. Our kids maybe are trying to, pull a little quick one. But again, this is something that you're not going to see if you're just logged into the parent portal. That's not what the parent portal is doing for you. It's showing you grades and stuff like that, but it's not showing you what you need to be getting to at that moment. And so that's why, if you really want to help your kids succeed, you need to be able to get to where they're at right now, okay, and show exactly what's up. So again, we're not trying to, be super spies or nothing else, but hey, I want to help my kids do well. And sometimes kids forget about things. It's just a fact. And so since I don't have that homework folder, it's very important to me that I'm able to go in here and look and see, hey, what do they need to be doing? What's been assigned to them? What's up there? So again, the good thing about Google Classroom is that it is real time. It's what's happening exactly right now. So I can see what's due, what happened, and everything else. There was another situation where my daughter, it was hanging out there, some assignment. It was an art assignment. And I asked her about that. She's like, oh yeah, I do need to turn that in. I just need to do something real quick, but I'll have that turned in a second. So she came down a couple minutes later, said, hey, it's turned in. I was able to go in to look and see this nice little thing that she did. I was like, okay, wow, cool, I can see. So again, real time, as soon as she turned it in, I could see that it was turned in. And again, that is a very, it's a powerful part of being in Google Classroom, that as a parent, you're not going to see that unless you log into your kid's account and start seeing what's happening there. So it's very important that you can do that if you really want to be able to dig in and help your kids like you could before the days of the Chromebooks and everything else. This is the way you have to get in there and do it. So again, I'm talking about starting conversations with your students and not trying to be confrontational, okay? So this is conversation versus confrontation, two totally different things. If you can start a conversation, you're gonna have a totally different result than you would if you kind of come, with the, baseball bat, so to speak, I know it's not a literal baseball bat, but if you're coming in there like saying, hey, here's what I see, why isn't this done? You're just kind of like coming in with that, kind of that bully thing, like, hey, what's up, get this done right now. That's usually just not, and this is just a general tip, whatever, that's usually just not the best way to approach our kids. It's just good to be able to talk about things to them. And you usually will get a whole lot further when you do that than when you're trying to come in and just bust them. So a big thing that you're going to be able to help them with Google Classroom as well is their whole thing of time management. Because even as adults, you know that if you can manage your time good, that's really going to help you be successful. And this is something that kids need to start learning at a young age, how to manage their time. So for kids, it's very easy to come in and think, oh, I just got a little homework, I'm good, I'll do that later. And they get playing, they get goofing off. And next thing you know, it's like bedtime. They're like, oh, I didn't do my homework. Time management. You know, I know as an adult, when I was working in the corporate world, they sent us off to these Franklin Covey classes of time management, stuff like that. And it was pretty good stuff. It was very good stuff. You know, they give us a little day planner and you could write down your stuff and you have check marks and everything else. And when, you know, when I did it for that 1 or 2 weeks, you know, my life was together. I mean, I was getting stuff done. I was like, yeah, check, check, check. It was like awesome. I kind of fell off the train after those 2 weeks. But anyhow, if you can manage your time, you're going to be good. And the same thing with kids. So getting back into the Google Classroom some, what you have to teach your kids is just because you don't see something in here that says due today, that doesn't mean it's time to relax and just not worry about stuff. You need to start looking ahead and say, hey, here's something that's due Thursday. You know, maybe I can start working on it now. It's already been assigned to me. Let me go ahead and get a head start on that. So teach them that, you know, we need to show them that it's not just all about today. It's not all about what you can see immediately. Well, I got to do this because it's due tomorrow. Work ahead, especially if your kids get bored. Hey, show them that, hey, you know what, you're able to work ahead. So like right here, yeah, it says due today for this particular thing. And you can, you know, dig into that some or whatever else, but a lot of these other ones are just showing that there's nothing there. But if you really want to see what all they have to do, there's this nice little to-do area up here, and there's also a calendar. So with the calendar, the beauty of the calendar is it kind of shows you, and I had added a slide of this earlier, but it kind of shows you at a glance what's coming up for the week. So I can look and see if I click on that calendar view. I love this view because now I can see that, hey, although maybe on that day you only had that one assignment showing up, if you're not careful, Thursday's going to come and it's going to beat you over the head because all this stuff is waiting for you on Thursday. You know, you got this CATS assignment, that's something they do in school, but you got this nervous system homework, you got this musicology thing that's due at 5 o'clock. I hope they did that because that 5 o'clock is already come and gone. You got this CATS assignment that was supposed to be done and it's due at 11:59 tonight. So these are things that they need to see because guess what? If they just kind of came skipping home today and thinking, hey, spring break, I'm free. Then all of a sudden, you know, at 10 o'clock at night, they log, oh my goodness, I forgot about this stuff. And all of a sudden they got things that are stacked up against them. One's already going to be late because they didn't do it. Hey, as a parent, these are the tools you need to help them succeed. Be able to get in here, click the calendar, see what's coming up and start teaching them, you know, how to really use the system to their advantage. And I even went and looked a couple weeks ahead to see, I'm like, hey, I've been through this circus. I know what happens after, you know, the day before spring break is over. That's when they open up the thing. Oh my goodness, what's due? You know, so I said, let me get a jump start on that. Let me just go ahead and look. So I did. I went ahead and looked for the day after spring break. And that's on the 12th. And I saw these assignments hanging out here. I was like, I'm going to be on that. Now, as it turned out, although these assignments were due on Monday, she had already done them. When I kind of clicked into these, it showed that these were already done, graded. So this was something that she already did ahead of time. So I was like, yay, good job. I love to see that. But if these weren't done, it wouldn't have been marked graded. And this would be something that you as a parent or caregiver would need to, you know, show your student that, hey, do you have any homework that's due? I just was looking around the system and it just looked like something was floating out there. I don't know, you tell me, is something going to be due? Give them a chance to look it up and tell you before you beat them up. If they don't tell you, then you can start beating them up. So anyhow, these are some of the tools that are baked into Google Classroom that can help you to be able to see what your students are doing and what you as a parent need to do to step in. But I also want to talk about a couple things that I would call like new tools, okay? So tools that they're maybe not necessarily using as a part of their regular classroom activities, but there are some tools in there that they can use that you as a parent can show them how to use that can help them with just organizing their life, with succeeding, just helping, just good personal habits that they can build. So one of those tools is the calendar that's a part of this whole system. So kids in general love calendars once they kind of learn how they work, but this is something that they don't normally really use in school. Okay, but Google has a calendar, and guess what? Calendars are awesome things. You can put things in there. You can, you know, put appointments that you have. You can put homework. You can put whatever you want to in there. I know for myself, back when I finally caved into smartphones some years ago, because I was holding out, you know, I got my little slide phone, you know, it works just fine for me. I don't need all that stuff. But, you know, I was just talking to a friend about it some years back, and he's like, hey, you know, you get that phone, you can set appointments, you can do all these things. Your phone can tell you about it. He's like, you're basically buying yourself a personal secretary. You know, you got your little personal assistant that follows you around. And he talked me into it, and I learned that, hey, this is cool. I can have a calendar, it can give me reminders, because, you know, you get so much stuff happening, you start forgetting stuff. And the same thing happens to kids. They get involved in a lot of stuff and they'll forget stuff. And so it's important that, you know, they can know how to basically get in there and start using their things. So this is in here. You can, as I mentioned, you can make little appointments. You can make little things in here, little events. So this was just kind of a test one I did, but what they can do, and this is something you can teach them. They can get in here, they can say, hey, I got band practice after school. They can put what time it's at, have a little thing here where it shows where it's at, and a notification can pop up there 10 minutes before, you know, all these things they can do. You can even make hyperlinks in here. So if, you know, in this case, my daughter, you know, maybe she has a fingering chart she needs to do, this is an actual hyperlink that she can press, you can do that. So these are tools that you can, as a parent, if you don't know how to do it, you know, you can learn, or, you know, maybe that can be another training session or something, but this is a tool that can be very powerful for kids to start learning how to organize their life, you know, learning how to do hyperlinks. You know, they can click on this and it takes them to this little section here where they can, in her case, you know, fingering for her saxophone or whatever. So all those things are in there to where they can do that, and they can learn, you know, what it looks like to have these things floating on the calendar and everything. So again, powerful things that they can learn how to use. So at a glance, they can see what's happening. They can see the details. Google Calendar is an awesome thing, and it's a tool that's not really made use of by the schools. There might be some teachers that maybe have their kids doing it, but generally speaking, that's not something that they do, but it's something that you, if you want to help your kids to succeed, Google Calendar is a good tool. Another great tool, and I'm running out of time. I want to leave us time for questions, so I'll just get to this one more. I see that Shante is getting kicked out of the building. Thanks for letting us know. We will have a recording available. So once this is done, I'm going to get that together. So I'll put that out there to all the participants, or those who even couldn't join, so they can see some of what we talked about. But thank you for joining. Sorry you're getting kicked out of the building. And I know Candace as well had to take off. So understand that. So thank you guys very much, and thank you for letting me know, and I wish you guys a good spring break, those that have to leave. So quickly, I do want to just talk about Google Sheets. So Google Sheets, they may have a couple things that come to them on Google Sheets, but guess what? Google Sheets is a great tool for other stuff, especially when you start getting into the math world. So Google Sheets, that's basically what that is Microsoft Excel. That's their version of Excel. And Excel is something that is used in the workplace. You know, a lot of people in corporate world and everywhere else, Excel is all over the place. And so learning how to use this at a young age is a great skill. And there's a way that they can do it that, again, is applicable to their world of math homework and showing their work and everything else like that. So like I said, it's just basically an Excel spreadsheet as far as how it appears. But what thing I used this for just the other day was my middle school daughter. She had a homework assignment for the surface area of you know, a 3D shape, and she came running down to me, and she was like, oh, and she was actually in crisis mode because I think there was a timer going, and again talking about, you know, prioritizing, time management, you know, all these kind of things. Apparently it had gotten down to the wire, and she was like, ah. And so she came down and said, hey, I got this thing I need to work on finding the surface area here, and she was having a hard time working through this. And so I first asked her, hey, show me what you've done so far. And this is what any teacher would do, show me your work. Well, she didn't have any work to show me. You know, she'd done something with her calculator and everything else, but she didn't really have any work to show me. So I was like, okay, well, let's take this from scratch, you know. And so what I decided to do was pull up a sheet and start putting the numbers in there, because I knew I could quickly show it graphically what she needed to do. And also with a sheet, I can actually even do the calculations into it. So I pulled up a sheet and I quickly threw the sides of this shape out there and did a couple of little quick formulas. Now, while I was starting to do this, she was getting nervous because she's like, okay, what is Dad doing? I asked him for help. And he opens up this thing and he starts throwing in numbers. And so she's actually getting a little smart alecky with me almost. But anyhow, as she saw what I was doing and saw how it was working and saw that I quickly was able to throw in some formulas, and voila, I have an answer there, Suddenly her tune changed and she was like, "Oh, hold it. Look at that." The good thing about this is, the teachers do sometimes ask for work, ask you to show their work. And what they typically do right now is they kind of have this, a PDF that has their assignment on it and a space in the bottom. And they can use this app called Kami to basically be able to edit these sheets and kind of just type in whatever they've done. But, for a math teacher who's wanting to see the work, it's going to look a whole lot better if I can kind of show here exactly what I did, and also it's legible. And I can take it to the next level and actually like label it, side 1, side 2, here's the shapes. I can do that kind of thing and put it in there. Now suddenly, my students looking, oh, wow, this is an awesome star student, look at what they've done, and it's something that helps them because, hey, these numbers are real. This is a formula. There's not going to be mistakes in here, okay? So this shows exactly what she needs, because with some other things that she did, there was some mistakes. And calculators are a good thing. Now, some people might be thinking, hey, they're cheating, they're not having to do the actual math with pencil and paper and doing it. Well, guess what? Calculators are already in use, especially in middle school. And this is technology that is for them. Don't worry, they are going to learn their multiplication tables and get tested on it, and their math and their addition and subtraction, division, whatever. They're going to learn all that stuff. But what we as parents need to do is help them to succeed with the tools that they have. And, I just for the fun of it, it's like, well, what do math teachers really think about calculators and all that kind of stuff? Well, the National Association of Council of Teachers of Mathematics, as far as calculators, they say, hey, these are a good thing. These are tools, they can promote higher order thinking. These kind of things are good for the kids. So it's not going to harm them. The teachers know that, the math teachers. So don't worry about it like, okay, I'm cheating my kids. No, you're helping them to succeed and helping them to think differently. And that's what they need, because at the end of the day, without going into another speech, the ability to be flexible and to think differently is really what's going to help them to succeed more than anything else. And even if you don't get down to formulas or whatever else, even just yesterday, I had a deal with one of my daughters who was trying to get this answer. They had to graphically show 1/3 times 2/5 equaling 2/15. She had no clue how to do it. And so it ended up rolling to me, hey, Dad, how do I do this? How do I show this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know how they told you to do it in school. I don't. So I first started to get out a piece of paper and kind of show, okay, well, here's 1/3, and my lines were all crooked and looking jacked up and stuff. I'm trying to erase stuff. But guess what? Again, here in a Google Sheet, i.e., Microsoft Excel, you can show here, and I'm not going to get into this little example, but anyhow, you can show graphically what 1/3 times 2/5 looks like on a sheet. And again, we're just talking about alternatives, things you can do to help your kids succeed, how you can start teaching them other things that are going to help them. And these tools are baked in to what they use, this whole Office 365 suite. This is the Microsoft stuff. So they have the real Excel and Word and everything else. That's all in there for them to use. But they also have, the Google Sheets that are part of that. They also even have this in the coding section. I saw Scratch. I was like, what? Scratch? I love Scratch. I teach that for summer school. I mean, this is Scratch, summer camps rather, and they can get in there and they go to the real MIT Scratch website, and these are tools that they have. For me, back in the day, I just threw these slides in here. What did I have as a kid growing up? I had BASIC. Here's what I had. That's all I had. I didn't have this cool stuff. And we had Pong. Yeah, Pong. That was it. But now these kids have all these tools at their disposal that they can use. And so to really help them succeed, we as parents just have to kind of get in there and start learning some of these things and kind of learn how we can help our kids with these things. One more thing I want to mention real quick is the parent portal. That is not the actual one you log into, but something that the county built to help parents with technology. So it's a parent support portal. And so this is out there on the website as well, the school website. And this is actually under the parent resources. So you go into resources and then parents. And then the very first thing at the top, actually, they put it there at the top. Not alphabetically, but put it there at the top so you would see it, is this parent support portal. And then here it kind of shows you some different things that can kind of help you, what is Google Classroom. Has some of these little short videos that were put out, some of them by Google. They aren't much more than just a little introduction. They don't get into anything deep, but just kind of gives you a little quick thumbnail on the thing. So explore that parent support portal. There is some more information there. So I do want to stop there. I know we're already running out of time, and just leave some space for questions or comments real quick. So again, this is the parent tech training thing, and I am going to actually try to get some feedback from you guys in the form of a little exit survey when we're done here. So I'll throw that link out there in a second. But parent tech training, any questions or comments here real quick?
Donald, you mentioned that Google Classroom weekly summary. Where do you get that?
So that is something, and that's a good question. I didn't say that, so thank you. So the Google Classroom weekly summary is something that actually the teacher should have sent to you as a parent towards the beginning of the school year. And of course, at the beginning of the school year, we get a bunch of junk. But there should have been an actual notification that went to you that said you could sign up for Google Classroom for your kids. And you basically, it was something that you had to respond to and go in and just, it was a pretty quick thing to do, but it's something that you had to actually get from the teacher. So you can't go out there and get into it yourself. You have to get an invite from the teacher to get into this system. So yeah, thank you for asking that, because that is important to know that. And so you can talk to your teacher about that, your student's teacher. I had to do that actually with one of my kids, because we were talking about it, and they said, hey, we were having a conference, and they said, well, there was a question that they had that I asked them, and they couldn't give me an answer. They said, well, just go to Google Classroom. And I was like, well, number one, the Google Classroom that I have as a parent won't give me that information. All I get is a summary. But number two, I don't have that for the student anyhow, even the summary thing. And so at first the teacher didn't know how to do it, but then someone else helped her, and she was able to send me an invite for that. So go to your student's teacher, and they should be able to get that for you. So great question. Any faces?
Actually, I signed up for the daily one for my daughter, and it took less than a minute.
Okay.
The teachers, because we're having a problem with my daughter handing in classwork. And because Google Classroom changed to where once you were finished, it automatically sent it in. Now they actually have to hit submit. She keeps forgetting to submit. So I got the daily one to remind her, hey, did you send this in? Did this one get done? Did this one get done? Because the teacher sent me the information, and I had the choice. I'm like, I'd rather get daily instead of having her have everything has to be handed in late on a Friday.
Yes.
So and it took like less than a minute to sign up for it.
Yep. Thank you, Stacy. So yeah, that is again something that should be sent to you by the teacher. It should have automatically gone out at the start of the school year, but I'm not positive that it went out to everybody. I'm not positive. I can't say that because, like I said, I didn't see it for one of my kids, and I had to ask for it.
First time I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, well, it is out there. It's out there, and like I said, you may want to do it. Because I can get into Google Classroom now, I'm not worried about turning mine into a daily thing, because, like I said, I want to just be able to do that. But if you do it on a day like Stacy did, that's a great way again to be able to tag in and know what's hanging out there, because it will pop in there. But I'd love it if you guys can just quickly get into this thing. And it can be a 10-second survey, literally. Just kind of click, hey, this was the class, and here's how I would score it. You can either say you love me or hate me. It's anonymous, but in any case, this will help me. You can also fill out more stuff saying, hey, here's what I think about the class. Here's how I would explain that rating, or, here's some stuff I'd love to see in the future. Because there's a lot of stuff that we as parents can use. There's a lot of tools that could be very useful to us. And so I'd like to know if there's something else that, I can maybe get together with the county and see if we can put together another workshop and, dive a little deeper into some of these things. So please take a moment to fill that out. And like I said, literally, if all you want to do is just say, hey, here's the class, here's the rating, you can be done in 10 seconds. But if you have some time to give me a little more feedback, that would be much appreciated as well.
I signed up for your 101 session as well. Just the order that I could come to these made it that I went to part 2 first.
Sure.
What kind of things are you covering in part 1?
So in part 1, I'm going to kind of go a little deeper into things that I just kind of glossed over today.
Okay.
So we'll dig a little more into the parent portal, and also more into Google Classroom as far as clicking on the specific assignments and looking at some of the full realm, even the Google Drive and stuff like that. We'll get a little bit into those things. So just going deeper into it to kind of show, really the power of what's in there and how we can really see what's happening. Once you get into that, you can see so much more information, even things that are turned in late, things that are missing. So we'll go into all those things, all those areas of the Google Classroom that we didn't really touch on today.
So I missed the one that I signed up for part 1.
Okay.
Because I had an emergency with the family and I couldn't jump on.
Yeah, so you can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I still have the email that shows the dates.
Uh-huh.
Can I just click on that, or do I have to register again?
Yeah, you can just appear. That's fine. You know, so I don't have the list out, you know, and marking naughty nice and, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Get off. You know, I'm gonna no, so nothing like that. So yeah, sure, you can just pop on to one of the calls. We'll have the week after spring break is when we'll have those two. So I think it'll be Tuesday in the evening and Thursday in the morning are when those are going to be.
Yes. Yep, I saw that. That's why I was wondering. I could just pop into one of them because I did miss the first one.
Yeah, definitely.
Hi, yes, thank you. Well, I know you went into Mayan and then you went into Renaissance. My question was for Renaissance, are we able to see their level of reading even if they don't go to Mayan? Because my children usually go to, I think it's A to C, ABC. I can't remember the name of the actual A to C reading.
Okay. So you're asking if they're able to see the actual level that they're on?
Yeah, through Renaissance as well, or?
Okay, so yeah, when you dig into Renaissance, I'm going to see if I can pull up that slide that kind of shows a little bit of that detail.
While you're pulling it up, it will tell you what the child's average grade reading level is. And it'll show it as a percentage, like not a percentage, a number like 3.8. If you see 3.8, that's third grade, 8th month in the third grade.
Oh, okay.
So they will show that. So you'll have to click on the book specifically, and then they'll give you, I think it's a TOPS or POPS report.
Yeah, TOPS.
TOPS report.
Yes.
And when you click on that and scroll all the way down to the bottom, it'll give you a collective overall view of, you know, how many, the percentage of tests they pass, their average reading level, and a couple other things. Do you have it up now? No, I'm just going off of memory.
So here is where she was talking about with the TOPS report. You can kind of see, and I don't have it all here on this slide, but it does show you the book levels and some of these things down here for the summary for the year. So if you click on that TOPS report, which you can see right here on this screen, it says View TOPS Report. That's where you can kind of dig into a little deeper. And again, here I don't have everything shown here, but it will show you the points that they've earned, the averages, the Lexile right here is the number that will kind of show you that. So these numbers here, you're gonna kind of dig into exactly how they work a little bit, but you can get to the details of where they are at when you dig into this report to answer that question.
Okay. So Renaissance kind of does an overview of like my whole Google Classroom, whatever's in there.
Renaissance is specifically connected to their AR reading. So this is a program they use at the school, and it helps them to see their progress. So I know it definitely connects to Mayan. I'm assuming whatever reading program they're using, it hopefully it's cooked into this. I can see if I can answer that for that specifically. That's something you want, but that's something you can also check in with your teacher. I'm pretty sure that this should connect to whatever program that they're using, though. That it'll show where they're at. Because here it doesn't really specify that it's talking about just Mayan. It just says you can see their progress.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And just to add to that, it is just for accelerated reader books. So you can go to the library and they'll have on the bind AR. And if you see that, you'll know that in Renaissance, there's a accelerated reader comprehension quiz for it. So it doesn't just have to come from Mayan. It can be from the public library, the school bookstore, the school library, or even some books that you have at home. They have accelerated reading quizzes for those books. You would just have to look it up. Because even Mayan, there are some books that don't have accelerated reader quizzes assigned to it. So you just have to see for the individual book if there's a quiz for that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, thank you, Ruth, for sharing that. And as well, what you can see and what's good, and the teachers will tell you this, is when you're talking about reading, you do need to check on the levels of those books. It's very important, because if your kids are reading below their level just so they can take a quick quiz or whatever, that's not really helping them so much. They just want to get some numbers out there and just show that they're reaching whatever, but you need to check their levels. And teachers in the conferences, they will tell you this too, that, hey, make sure you're pushing your kids and not just even stay below level or even at level, but if you can push them to be above level, that's where they need to be. So you can see that information when you get into there, if they're reading at level or below level, because it will show you that when you see the big display of books, it'll let you know what kind of books they're getting and what grades they're for. So that's a great question.
There it is. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Forgive, just to touch base on what you just said, my daughter's been doing a lot better since she has went back to class. So I think that is a good thing, along with all the social distancing and everything. I have one concern, and please forgive me if you went over this in the first session or in this session. I just want some clarification on when I get the notifications from the parent portal on her grade. It's like 3 different notifications come at the same time simultaneously. And it says she has an updated grade of this, then it'll say another grade, then it'll say another grade. And I'm not sure which one of those is accurate, or why 3 different ones usually come at the same time.
So you have notifications that are set up through the parent portal, the Infinite Campus parent portal, and you're saying the notifications come in sometimes 3 at a time for the same class, and they're showing different grades. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, I have not experienced that particularly, but I do know that, again, in the parent portal, and I did just touch on that at the very beginning, but the parent portal, what's happening is the teachers do update things in there, and sometimes it kind of happens all at once. Okay, so parent portal versus Google Classroom. Parent portal, teachers, once things are done in the system, they can go and update the parent portal. Whereas in the Google Classroom, it happens live. So as soon as something's done, it instantly is updated. So sometimes when teachers are updating things in the parent portal, they'll kind of do them kind of linearly and kind of do this piece here, do this piece here. So as far as seeing different grades, I'm not sure exactly what could be causing that, if it's actually for the exact same class, unless one of the grades was kind of pieced up. And I can show you this. Let me see if I can get up to this slide real quick. Had a little bit about
it's almost like they're grading in sections or something, and then sometimes the last notification that I get will be a passing grade, but at the same time it may be a failing grade. So then I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to really look at. So Google Classroom would be better to use.
Yeah, so Google Classroom is definitely the live system, okay? So with that, you're seeing things exactly as they happen. And
Okay.
so that is going to be your best source of getting live information. Because I know I've seen, I did talk about the summit session one, not all teachers use the parent portal, that Infinite Campus the same. I've seen, especially with younger students, the teachers there, this has just been my experience, okay? So this doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but a lot of times things aren't updated, super regularly. And even with some of the older students sometimes too, they're just not done super regularly. And so you're a little bit at a disadvantage in that area if that's all you're depending on. And so that's why we're talking about getting into Google Classroom, because that's going to show you live exactly what's happening. You can see things as they get graded and everything else. So when all is said and done, the parent portal definitely will show you, okay, here's all the grades that happened. And you can go in there and dig in as deep as you need to see what's out there. But when it comes to on the spot, yeah, the classroom is definitely your best bet.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hi, I don't have a question, just a comment.
Yes.
I thought this session was really, really good. It's a little late. We needed this like really early on because I struggled, my kids struggled, and it's been tough just trying to navigate, but I think this is probably needed on an ongoing basis since this seems like this may be our new normal, this virtual way. But I appreciate it, and I did learn some things for sure.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much for letting me know that. And yeah, definitely we want to try to continue these sessions. And you can help with that. I'm going to put out a link here. And this is a link for kind of, it's an exit survey. It's anonymous, so please do it. Don't worry that I'm going to come and hunt you down and be like, hey, what'd you say about me? But on this thing, basically all it does is it has a place to let you tell what class that you took and how you rate the class. And then also, if you want to, you can say, hey, here's why I rated it this way and give me more details. But also there's a section at the end where you can say, hey, what would be of good use for you for a future session? And so I'd like to see that so I can kind of bring this back to the county and say, hey, here's what people are asking for. Here's what they would like to see. So let's see if we can get these sessions out here, because the county does want to help. Okay, so I know this was kind of almost a little bit too little too late in some ways. The hope is that this can be done at the beginning of the school year, especially for new parents with new students getting to school, kindergartners or transfers or whatever else. But they can be at the beginning of the school year so we can kind of get a refresher as to, hey, here's how we need to approach the school year and help our students to succeed, not just in the last few weeks of school where we're kind of trying to cram it in, but let's set them up for success at the beginning. Let's kind of get in there and work with them from the beginning. So please go to your chat, and there's a link I just put there for the survey. And that would be very, very helpful to me. Again, it's anonymous, so you can slam me as bad as you want. You can say, you know what, there's not a 0 on the scale, so I got to give them a 1, but I hated everything that happened. Just be honest. Be honest so I can improve myself and what I'm trying to do for you guys. But also, like I said, please take advantage of that last section and say, hey, here's what would really help me as parents. And as a parent, I know that having to go into the system using our kids' computer, that's not optimal, but hey, we can do it. You can get the password, you can go in, and this is what we have to do if we really, really want to help our students. You know, the parent portal is great, but again, it's not live. I don't want to be reactive. As a parent, I want to be proactive. I want to be able to look today and say, hey, you said you don't got homework, but you do. Now I'm talking like I'm in attack mode, that confrontation, but anyhow, I'm just saying, I wouldn't express it like that, but I want to be able to say, hey, I was just looking in here and I saw that there's some things, you know, you plan on working on this sometime soon? Anyhow.
I just wanted to ask, can I share, I know you send us the recordings and stuff, or can I share your invite with other parents that don't go to Douglas County's schools? Is it similar or?
So you say share the invite itself?
Yeah, I know you have future classes coming up, and you also send us the recordings and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, yes, it's fine. There's nothing here that's, you know, proprietary, confidential, or whatever else. So if it's something that would be helpful to somebody, they definitely can do that. As far as joining a class, I mean, they're welcome to do that as well. Just, I think when you should have gotten with the initial confirmation email, the list of all the different links for the different class.
Yeah.
So every class has a different link to join the Zoom meeting. So, so this link for this meeting, you know, wouldn't work for the next meeting that's happening on Thursday or whatever else. So just you have to make sure that you share the proper link. But yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you. Have a nice day.
Yes, thank you very much. Hope you have an awesome spring break and do something fun and get refreshed.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Bye.
It's great to see you.